Here's exactly how I was able to make on average of $1,000 a day that allowed me to cross over my first $30,000 month in my online coaching business. And these same exact principles I've used to be able to make 3,000, 4,000, even upwards towards 10 and $12,000 in a single day. So I'm going to walk you through the full plan in hopes that it helps you be able to cross through that barrier as well. And so let's go ahead and dive on in. I get that hitting $30,000 per month can sound like a big goal depending on where you are, but when you break it down, it really is just $1,000 a day. And if you've been in the coaching space for any length of time, or if you've had an online business where you're selling medium to high ticket stuff, you recognize that $1,000 a day isn't that much when you have the right strategy in place. It becomes way more freaking achievable than maybe perhaps you once thought. And so a few years ago, when I was online fitness coaching, I remember being stuck and I was bouncing between $5,000, 10,000, 15,000. Every now and then I would have like a $20,000 to $25,000 month, but it was so inconsistent, right? Some months like I would be like, man, I just don't know where I'm going to be. And it was so stressful with like, do I hire a team? Do I hire people? Do I spend money on that? I didn't know what to do because I never knew where my revenue was going to be. And the inconsistency, needless to say, was super frustrating. And I remember being like posting workouts, I was posting motivational quotes, I was doing random spray and pray advice. I was trying all these different strategies and tactics, but nothing was clicking. Like we were like, I was growing a bit of an audience, and my content was getting, a decent amount of engagement per se, but I couldn't like figure out how to crack the code with getting past that revenue mark, being able to get to that 20, 30, 40, 50K per month mark consistently. And I felt like I was throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something would stick, but most of the times things would just slide down all messy. And then something changed, and I've shared this story before, but it's really like an epiphany aha moment for me. And one day I made a post on my phone, and it was like later in the afternoon. I remember waking up the next day, and there was hundreds of notifications, which at the time, like, I was getting pretty good engagement. So but it was definitely more engagement than I'd ever got. And I remember thinking, like, did somebody hack my account? Like, what's going on? I was so confused. And then I hop into my Facebook Messenger, and I had about 12 or 13 like pretty quality leads, inbound leads, like people reaching out to me, and they were asking about one of the call to actions that I made on the post. And I remember just being like, "What the heck, dude? Like, this is awesome." And I realized that, like, if I study like what I was doing that month from a micro level, like the content that I was posting, and from a macro level, like what did I do? Because I was so confused. Like, how did this one post just like pop off? Needless to say, I did it again and did it again, and within the next 30 days, I generated I think 11 clients and around $33,383, I believe was the exact dollar amount. And that's when I don't know if like I per se cracked the code in that moment, but it gave me this like aha moment that if I could do it once, that I knew I could do it again. And I knew I could do it again and again and again. And this is what led me to what I now call the client attraction system, because it is built around attracting people and not having to chase, and not having to be in the DMs doing 50, 100 DMs a day, and not having to deal with the inconsistencies. And so this is how I was able to first break through that 5 to 15K per month barrier. And that's how I initially got to consistent 20 to 30K per month, which again is averaging 1K a day. And even if you're watching this and you're over 30K per month, dude, like, it's the same principles, the same fundamental things that will take your business to 100K per month and beyond, at least in my experience. And so let's go ahead and dive on in. Step one is we want to craft what I'm calling, for the purpose of this video, a 1K a day offer. It doesn't necessarily mean the offer has to do 1K a day, but that's what we're shooting for right now. Okay. And again, you could call this a 3K a day offer if your goals are bigger, but the principles are the same here. You want to start by creating and refining an offer that can generate at least 1K a day in revenue, cash collected. And so here's how I've been able to do it. I found the secret sauce being in what's called a tiered offer. And so a tiered offer is something that I used to do in my gym days, back when I ran a gym, where I would have memberships, right? And the secret in the gym world, at least, was you would have usually 3 different memberships, like a 12-month we did, a 6-month, and I think it was like a 3 or 4-month. And the one in the middle, the 6-month, is what people buy. And so we would price what we wanted our like we wanted our clients or our members to buy in the middle. Like we knew that's what people would buy, so we would price around the middle. So we'd make the middle what we really wanted, and then we'd make the 12-month and the 3-month just whatever. Like we didn't care if people bought those. We knew people would want to buy the middle one, right? Now, a tiered offer in online coaching, I do a little bit differently, right? What I think a lot of people do, and what I made mistakes doing in the past, is trying to maximize recurring revenue by juggling multiple different offers, right? Having a super low ticket, having, a crazy back end system, and it just becomes kind of tough because you have to build systems for each of your offers. And sometimes having certain offers like a super low ticket offer could attract some of the wrong people. And so instead, what I found has worked for me is having one core offer that has multiple tiers. And usually the tiers are going to be based around access to you or access to certain service offerings that you may have, depending on what you do. And so here is an example of how it looks for me. And the idea here is to meet clients at different price points based on where they are in their transformation journey. You see what I'm saying? Like some people may want a tier 1. So for me, it's a higher ticket offer. This is where people get one-to-one coaching with me. They get community support. I get on the calls with them. I audit all of their content. Like I am there truly doing it with them. And people really, really like that. And so I did something very similar when I was running my fitness business. People really like this. Now, pricing is going to be so dependent on niche, to be honest. So it's like, it's such a big range, but I would say anywhere between $3,000 to $12,000, your program should be within this range. Tier 2, this is a more affordable option. So maybe people don't necessarily need, want, or can afford a higher ticket program. And so this is where having like a group coaching program or a hybrid offer really, really works well. So this gives clients who can't commit to that high ticket price a solid option without sacrificing value. So the difference here shouldn't be different. It should be the same roadmap, the same process. The only difference is either the access they get to you or the access they get to some of the service offerings. But the actual core of it should be the same. And typically, again, the price is dependent on niche, but typically this should be between $1,000 and $3,000 for this particular tier. And so this approach makes it easy to hit that 1K a day target because you're able to build up monthly recurring revenue. You don't necessarily have to rely just on having new clients coming in all of the time. And it gives your clients access to different levels without overwhelming yourself with multiple tiers. So that's step 1. And when it comes to offering, I'll give you just a quick short thing on this because this is important, right? We can go so deep into offerings and maybe we'll do a separate video on this, but you want to make sure that you have a really good promise, right? Something very specific. Like if somebody buys that program or hires you for this, what is that specific promise, right? Maybe it's, lose 20 pounds of belly fat, right? I don't know. Maybe it's get to consistent 30K months. You want to have some very specific promise. Then you want to be able to have your process, right? So you need to have a process dialed in. This is something I talk about. We'll go into a little bit with the messaging. This is very important. And lastly, you want to have your price. And that's kind of what we just touched on. Now, there's not obviously, maybe it's not obvious to you, but there is definitely more to creating a really good offer. And something I could show you here is an offer doc that we use and we send to anybody that's interested in our program or process. And I teach my clients how to come up with these. But this gives you the full kind of hopefully overview of what an offer should look like, right? This is the process that we take people through. So you want to have a process that you're bringing people through. It makes it really clear and easy too for people to buy when they can see the process, right? You list out like, how are you going to deliver this to people? Is it one-to-one mentorship like I do? Do they get a customized roadmap, right? Are there different phases that they walk through, right? What kind of other support are they getting? Lay it all out. What's included? Like what else are they getting with the actual offer? Right? Are there any bonuses that you can give people that are going to help them get better results, right? What are the core outcomes? Again, kind of going back to the promise that people should expect, very specific things, right? Is it for them? Is it for not? The investment, all of that stuff. Are there any guarantees? These are all things that you can consider when it comes to having a really good offer that you can make 1K a day from. And then there's knowing your numbers. So now we're on to step 2. Step 2 is know your numbers. So whether you're selling tier 1 or tier 2, knowing your math is key. And so you want to start with the end in mind. You want to reverse engineer it. And so if you're selling, say, a $3,000 offer, you need, quote unquote, 10 clients per month. And if your offer is 1,500, you'll need 20 clients per month. Now, again, building up that monthly recurring revenue is certainly going to help, but you got to know your numbers. Once you understand your numbers, everything else becomes clear. And so you can break this down all the way. If you know your KPIs, your key performance indicators, you could break this down all the way from like how many calls you need to book if you're booking calls, how many people you need to respond to your call to actions if you're doing like more inbound marketing like I teach. That's the stuff that you could get really clear on. How many offers you need to make a week even. But when you know your numbers, it makes everything easier because you can reverse engineer it all the way back to your sales and to your marketing, and even to your fulfillment and your retention systems, right? So pretty simple there. Step 3 is build a strategic content ecosystem. To hit on average of 1K or 3K or whatever K you want to hit a day, you got to have consistent inbound leads, quality leads. And the way that I do this is through having an ecosystem that my audience can exist in, right? I like to think about an ecosystem. I'm over here in Florida, right? And so in Florida, there's Puerto Rico, and then there's Bermuda, and it makes up the Bermuda Triangle. And legends say that when planes and ships and people go in there, they get sucked in and they never come out, right? You want your content to do the same thing. And so you want to be able to have different kind of levels depending on where your audience is for people to go. And so I like to have 3 different touch points. A main social channel. For us, it's Facebook. For some people, it might be Instagram or LinkedIn. But having a main social channel as one of those pillars, that's like Florida, right? Then you have your second pillar, and this is email. Email is so good. Like if you're not, like 90% of our sales come from email at this point, because there's such like people that read emails from you are going to be much more interested in what you have. So email, right? That's our second pillar. That might be Puerto Rico. And then you have a long form content where you can nurture your social channel and your email list and help build more trust with them, build more of a relationship, nurture, like provide value to them, right? And that was where something like YouTube or even podcast come in, a longer form kind of delivery channel. And that is a Bermuda. And so when you have something like that you can allow your audience to coexist in, and you could strategically be able to move people from your social channel to your YouTube or from your email to your YouTube and vice versa, it allows you to have a much more powerful marketing system in place. And that is what allows you to start being able to get the quality lead flow and to be able to move people through your quote unquote funnel to be able to buy from you. And that's how you can create that 1K a day. Now, one of the ways that we strategically do this is I run usually 2 conversion content campaigns a month. This is something that, I invented as far as I know. I have done videos on this on my YouTube channel before. But what we do with these is we build demand for content like workshops, masterclasses, ebooks, promotions, things like that. And what happens is you get people asking to join your programs when you're using the right call to actions, when you have the right hooks, when you're telling the right stories, you'll get people interested without you having to do any hard sells. And so you definitely need to generate daily interest to ensure you have a steady flow coming in for both of your tiers in your offer. So this is just an example of how a conversion content campaign can look, where you'll have different strategic posts that all are call to action driven to be able to get people to raise their hand, get people interested, and get people to what you can consider a conversion event. And again, for us, it's usually workshops or live trainings where we're helping to solve a problem, we're building trust with our audience, and then we just very lightly make a next step for people that want to continue on the journey and have myself and my company, help them. Right? And this allows you to build up a nurture list of leads that are interested, that are showing intent, right? It's not like you going out and cold DMing people and having to hit up everybody that likes your content or like, it's like, that's weird, right? It's like if somebody kind of looks at you and you're like, hey, thanks for looking at me. It's like, what? No. So when somebody's showing intent, like, hey, I'm interested in a workshop that you're hosting, or I'm interested in XYZ, Now you can actually build up a list of people that are showing intent, that are interested in having a problem solved. And it makes the process of like DMing people way easier, because you can have a lot of meaningful conversations, which is what MC means in my world. And that allows you to book more calls, or, just generate more sales. So that's step 3. Step 4 is you could sell in mass, right? So if you want to be able to make 1K a day, you could certainly do it through booking calls. That's really easy. But instead of having to grind through one-to-one sales calls all of the time, you could sell to multiple people at once. And so, just as I alluded to with a conversion event, one thing that helped me was running live workshops where I could speak to dozens of potential clients at once and provide massive value and close multiple sales in a single day. And the cool thing about this, if you're a coach and you naturally like to help teach and motivate and inspire people, it's such an authentic and easy way to do it, because you get to show up, say on Zoom, and you can even do this in person, right? And you just get to coach people and help teach, do what you're good at, do what you love, and just like show up with your passion, and just leave it all out there for people. Obviously, you want to be strategic, right? You want to have hooks, you want to use open loops, you want to have call to actions, you want to use good story. But outside of like some of the good marketing skills that you want to be able to, apply to these things, it allows you to still be able to solve somebody's problem. So instead of being in the DMs all the time and, getting on sales calls, like you truly just get to show up, serve people. We call it value first conversion system, because it's like you get to provide value up front and solve a specific problem for somebody. And then you just invite people. Hey, if you want to continue coming, this is what you can do. Right. And there's going to be a percentage of people every time you do this these workshops that are going to say yes. And so the battle, not the battle, but the game becomes just getting more people to attend the workshops, and then you'll have more sales. And so literally we've had times, and I've had clients that can literally sign up 10, 20 clients, or, whatever their goals are, just with one workshop, just by filling up the numbers, right? So it becomes really cool. And then step 5 is getting your messaging on point. Now, I've done so many videos on messaging. This is what a lot of people come to me for, is messaging and content strategy. But knowing this, like, your messaging is absolutely key. And so it is everything. If you're posting content, if you're doing workshops, if you're running ads, if you're doing all of these things, I'm telling you right now, like I've worked with a couple big brands that I have a lot of data that are doing like 8-9 figures in revenue. And just by helping them with their messaging, the words that they are saying, they increase their opt-ins, they improve their sales. So if somebody on a large scale can improve what they're doing, right, it's even more important on a small scale to do it, right? And so by small scale, I mean like if you're under 100K per month. And so the moment I stopped talking about generic stuff and started sharing real stories, yes, my audience size, like, I didn't get as many followers or, engagement and things like that, but I got the right people, right? I got the right people who are interested in, like, hiring me. And so when you talk to the deepest struggles and all of that stuff, the pain points, the aspirations, the desires people have, and get really specific to your dream client, it's going to help you create more magnetic content rather, that make people want to work with you. Okay. When your messaging connects and leads, and your leads will be ready to buy before they hop on a call with you. But with that said, there are 4, this is a bit more intermediate, but there are 4 messaging, 4 sales that your messaging needs to make before somebody becomes a client. The first one is you got to sell a new belief. When you sell a new belief, it's almost like you're planting a seed in somebody's mind. So this belief has to be one of the core beliefs that people need to be able to buy into your way of doing things. So for example, when I was a fitness coach, I know my audience, they were constantly looking for like the next diet. They were trying to eat healthy, but they were falling off. And I sold them on the belief that you don't need to eat healthy. You have to eat right. When you learn to dial in your calories, your proportion sizes, the food you're eating, the fat will fall off. And I got people to believe that. And when they believed that, they were interested in my unique mechanisms, right? My way of doing things, like our flex fuel nutrition systems and our stubborn fat solution and all the stuff that we had, right? In my business now, I have multiple things, but first is this. Like, I know to be true that if your messaging is not on point, you're going to struggle. And even if you're making sales, you could double or even triple your sales just by tweaking your messaging, just by dialing that in, right? So it's so key. So when I get people to believe that, they will hire me because they know, I make a compelling case for it. So you got to be able to, have that belief that you're selling, and the way that you make a case for it and the way you make people believe it is by telling personal stories or client case study stories and showing the proof through storytelling, using metaphors, using analogies, right? The second thing is you got to sell a new identity, right? You got to get somebody to want to buy into an aspirational identity that they already want, right? So in my fitness business, it was like parents that wanted to be like super, parents. They wanted to feel like superheroes. In my business now, it's coaches that might be feeling unheard, they're struggling to break through, and they want to become sought after. They want to become in demand, right? So you want to have an identity people can buy into. Then you want to sell a big idea, right? This could be a unique mechanism. Like I'm selling the client attraction system right now. It's a big idea where you dial in your messaging, you put a content ecosystem in place, you put a value first conversion system in place. And when you do that, you'll start attracting more clients versus having to chase and use aggressive tactics. I'm selling that big idea, right? In my fitness business, I was selling a big idea on like the stubborn fat solution, right? And I had like, my way of doing things, like my approach. So it can be a legit unique mechanism, right? Or it could be like a unique way, just a unique way of doing things. And this is something that I heavily teach to my clients. This is the first thing that I go through with everybody, whether I'm consulting people or coaching people. We get this in place because this is like the big thing that increases sales right out of the gate. And then sell social proof. So, instead of just saying, here's a before and after, or here's a screenshot, like use storytelling to truly sell the social proof so people could see that it works, right? And last but not least is you want to rinse and repeat. As entrepreneurs, like we're notorious for like doing something and it works and then we stop. So it's like you don't want to do that. You want to, once you get the process dialed in, it's all about consistency. So this is for me what I repeated this process over and over again until $30,000 per month became my new normal. And you could do that at every level. And so if you're ready to take control of your income and create a system that brings 1K a day or more, then it's time to put this into action, right? And when you put it into action, this is kind of an example of how our client attraction system looks. You're able to bring people from cold, top of funnel, where you're just connecting with them, however you're generating traffic, into warm, right? Middle of funnel, to where you're captivating their attention through a good content cadence, through the content ecosystem that we talked about. And then you bring them bottom of funnel to where you're converting them through like the workshops or some kind of value first approach. And then you have people in your tiered offer, right? And to where you have people that can stay with you for years, not just months. And so when you do this system correctly, you're going to find that making 1K a day on average, 30K months will become your new normal too. And again, you could take these same principles and you could take these way farther than 30K per month, at least in my experience. So I hope you found this video helpful. As a quick recap, we have the 1K a day offer. You want to craft an offer based off a tiered system. Usually just having 2 tiers is awesome. Then you want to know your numbers, so you can reverse engineer, start with the end in mind, right? And then you want to build a strategic content ecosystem that people can live in, and that helps nurture your leads and helps move them and build that trust with them. Then you want to sell. You could sell in mass. You don't have to do this, but I find it easier if that's what your goal is. Get your messaging on point. It is everything. And then you want to rinse and repeat. And when you do that, you're going to find life becomes so much easier. And so if you found this video helpful, make sure to smash that subscribe button, and that way you don't miss out on any more videos. And I would love for you to drop a comment down below. Let me know, like, what was that aha moment for you? What was that big takeaway that you plan to implement into your business? All right, drop that down below. And as always, remember, your message matters now more than ever before. Don't be afraid to speak it. As always, be seen, be heard, and be impactful.